Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. We've been hearing from so many of you about, well, life in the military. And one thing that keeps coming up is housing. Specifically, what happens when you get those PCA orders, those permanent change of assignment orders. Can you just break your lease? Like, is that allowed?
Yeah, that's a question that I think causes a lot of confusion and stress for people. Luckily, we have a great resource to dig into today. It's a blog post from Military PCS Guide, and the title's pretty clear. Can I break my lease due to PCA orders? Should clear up some things for us, hopefully.
Definitely. And they actually point out something right away that I think trips a lot of people up. The difference between PCA and PCS orders. We got to get those straight because those acronyms can be confusing.
Absolutely. So PCS, permanent change of station, that's when you're moving to a whole new duty station, like a different state, maybe even overseas. But PCA, permanent change of assignment, that's when you're getting reassigned, but staying at the same base, or at least in the same general area. Like a new job, but not a new location, really.
Okay, so same general area, but maybe different responsibilities. Got it.
Okay.
But how does that affect your lease? That's what we're really here to figure out.
Right, and that's what this deep dive is all about. Using this military PCS guide blog post, we're going to try to map out your options. And the post is very upfront about one thing. PCA orders and leases, it's tricky. There's no easy answer.
Yeah, they even call it a gray area, right?
Right.
Because the SCRA, the Service Members Civil Relief Act, it's awesome. It protects us in so many ways, but it really focuses on PCS moves. PCA, not so much.
Exactly. So there's not this automatic get out of lease free card when you get PCA orders. But, and this is important, the guide lays out a bunch of steps you can take even if the SCRA doesn't cover your specific situation. So it's not
Which is
hopeless.
about being proactive, right? Like the
Yeah.
first thing they say is,
Yeah.
know your lease, read it. I know, sounds obvious, but you got to really dig into the details, especially anything about a military clause.
And most leases will have those clauses, yeah. Usually they'll specifically mention PCS orders. But here's where it gets interesting. The guide suggests that some landlords might be flexible, even with PCA orders. Might be worth a shot, right?
It's definitely step one, see what your lease actually says. And then the next big thing the blog post emphasizes, talk to your landlord.
Communication is key, right?
Yeah.
Just be upfront, explain what's happening with your PCA orders, how it affects your housing. You never know, your landlord might be understanding.
Especially if they've rented to military folks before, they might be familiar with this whole situation. The guide even mentions that some landlords might just let you terminate the lease, no penalties, just because they get it.
Yeah.
Worth a shot.
Absolutely. But let's say, that first conversation doesn't go perfectly, the landlord's not budging. What does the guide recommend then?
Well, they talk about this thing called a lease buyout. Basically, you try to negotiate. Maybe offer to pay a smaller fee to break the lease, or even help the landlord find someone else to take over the lease. The idea is to minimize their losses so they're more open to working with you.
It's about compromise, finding a solution that works for both sides. But sometimes, even that's not enough. So what's the next step?
This is where it gets serious. Get legal help. Even if the SCRA doesn't directly apply to PCA, the guide says, talk to your installation's legal assistance office. They're the experts, they know the rules, they might know some loopholes or local laws that could help you.
Yeah, they can give you advice that's specific to your situation, your lease, and your location. They're a really valuable resource. And actually, there's one more option the guide mentions, and it's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, lease transfers and subletting. If your lease allows it, finding someone to take over your lease, that can be a win-win. The landlord keeps getting rent, and you're off the hook. Could be another military family coming in or someone who needs a short-term rental.
It all depends what your lease says, of course. Gotta read those details. So we've got some strategies, ways to be proactive. But the guide is also honest about something. Sometimes breaking a lease because of PCA orders, it's just not gonna fly, legally speaking.
Right, they point that out. If your new assignment doesn't actually require you to move, like you're still on the same base, same commute, basically nothing changes, the landlord might be totally within their rights to hold you to the lease.
It's a reality check. PCA doesn't always mean you get to break your lease. It really depends on how the reassignment impacts your living situation. But taking a step back, looking at all these possibilities, what's the big takeaway here?
I think it's this. Even when the SCRA doesn't automatically apply, you still have options. Communicate with your landlord, know your lease inside and out, be ready to negotiate, and don't be afraid to seek legal advice. Those are the big things.
And don't wait till last minute, right? That's something the guide emphasizes. Being proactive can save you a lot of stress and money in the long run. It's always better to be prepared.
Totally agree. And remember, That advice about talking to your installation's legal assistance office, that's a big one. They can really help you navigate this whole process.
So to sum up our deep dive, based on this military PCS guide blog post, PCA orders and leases, it's complicated. The SCRA is there for PCS moves, but even with PCA, you're not powerless. Communication, knowing your lease, negotiating, getting legal advice, those are your tools.
And that leads us to a final thought for you to ponder. The blog post ends with a little section called Need More Guidance. It makes you think, what other resources are out there, maybe on your base or through some military support network that could help with housing issues, especially when you're dealing with reassignments. It's worth looking into. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.